Howdy banger pals, welcome back to Overkill Reviews, Banger's weekly heavy metal review show. A big day, of course. The new Darkthrone album came out today, and we would be reviewing it here, but Darkthrone doesn't send promo copies out for their records, which would make me furious if it was any other band, but for some reason, because it's Darkthrone, it's endearing, question mark? So what do we review here? Well, Sodom also released a record today. Unfortunately, it's a re-recording of previous music, so it's not really it's more of a compilation, and that doesn't count for Overkill Reviews. But thankfully, Canadian hero Devin Townsend is releasing an album today, coming in to save the day. So we'll be talking about Lightwork.
Actually, that album got delayed until next Friday.
Well, I don't know, man. You're on your own. I don't know what to say. I tried.
Okay. I guess I'm talking about Devin Townsend. It's the new 20-second studio album by Devin Townsend called Lightwork, which comes out next Friday, November 4th. Due to the delay, we are only going to be showing the songs that are already out, but there's still so much to talk about with Lightwork. So where do I begin with the bio of Devin Townsend? He is one of the most celebrated artists within progressive metal. I mean, you could start by saying that his first big break was when he joined Steve Vai on his Sex and Religion album, and then after his departure, he formed the very influential industrial metal band Strapping Young Lad. His artistic endeavors expanded outside of Strapping into his solo career under his names, basically under his own name, the Devin Townsend Band and the Devin Townsend Project. If you're new to Devin Townsend and wondering where to start, it can be a bit intimidating. I mean, this guy's been making albums long before I was even born, but I would recommend checking out these 3 records if you haven't listened to any Devin Townsend records. I would say you could even start off with Deconstruction, Ocean Machine, and Addicted. Those would be my 3, but you could start pretty much anywhere. What makes him such a celebrated musician is his ability to create these musically adventurous albums, yet retaining his humility. I've heard people describe him as being the Deadpool of metal or Frank Zappa for millennials, but labels are very surface level, and one simple tagline isn't enough to describe Devin Townsend. My only question is, how does Lightwork stand out amongst his previous endeavors? I mean, can Lightwork really stand out being this 22nd album of his solo career? Well, let's find out. If we were to compare Lightwork to Devin Townsend's last 2 releases, Empath and The Puzzle, this is a much more straightforward and arguably a bit more formulaic. Normally this would be a negative point, but this is where the album really stands out and leaves a lasting impact. Lightwork is full of clever melodies, hooks, while having a few tricks that just kept me guessing and really engaged with this album. It's a bit calmer in its tonality, but it's really heavy in the subject matter, and the contrast of the two really create innovative songs that really stuck with me. This is evident with a song like Moon People, where it builds around this great groove and gives this kind of swaying effect, and when it really gets into the metal moment of the song, you think it's going to cross over into a much heavier section, but it finds a good middle ground between the 2 ideas presented, and it gives this uplifting effect without being so obvious. Heartbreaker is another great example of a song that kept me guessing. It's the one that really plays with time, jumping around 6/8 to 5/8, and you think it would be awkward jumping back and forth between the 2, but it's effortless in its execution, and it just adds another great push-pull effect within this album. Much like the rest of Devin Townsend's work, this album dabbles in various musical styles, incorporating elements of electronic, classical, film scores, and new wave music, while the foundation of the songs are really within the progressive metal realm. Even though these styles are previously explored, they are being still experimented with and are presented differently than on previous records. Arguably, it's more in an accessible manner. The electronic moments do remind me a bit of Addicted and his work with Casualties of Cool, and the ambient moments are reminiscent of Ghost, but it never feels like he's repeating previous ideas. Lightwork and Celestial Signs are both great examples of this. The verses are very straightforward, bouncing between film scores, electronic and alternative rock, and both choruses just sound epic when they kick in, and it just hits you with such ferocity that you immediately want to press repeat when they're done.
Tell me there's another. Lead me to the mother. We are all us. Tell me there's another. Leading to it, brother. We are all us.
Since this album has such a robust sound, the production really needed to balance all of these diverse ideas. There is an immersive way each song lifts into the other, which just seems so effortless. Dimensions is a great example of how everything is so crisp and well balanced. It's the fastest song on the album and has so much going on. Tons of different percussion parts with real drums, weird haunting sound effects, synthesizers, keyboards, and on top of that throw in distorted vocals, a ripping solo, a couple of thrashy moments, and you get the most chaotic track on the album. It would have been so easy to have all of these ideas blend together and then eventually just becoming just a giant mess. But the way that the song is presented, you can practically hear everything that's going on without getting lost. And that's not an easy feat. Speaking of no easy feat, it's no easy feat putting together these videos, and it wouldn't be possible without our amazing Patreon supporters. Devin Townsend is one of the best vocalists in metal, if not the best. The guy can literally do anything and everything with such conviction and grit within his voice, and yet he's got this very calm, soothing, relaxing side to him, and it's awesome to see the balance of the two. He uses a plethora of different techniques on here, and while you may think some of the screams might not fit in certain parts, they just absolutely fit perfectly. Such a good part. Equinox to me really stands out, and you get a good dynamic range of his voice. There is some very nice, calm, clean singing with some growling thrown in, and the way each section crescendos into the next, I was absolutely blown away by this song. This might be one of my new favorite Devin Townsend songs. I know that when you guys listen to Equinox, you guys are going to have the same reaction I did when I first listened to it. God, it's just such a fucking good song. It's just so calm, chill, relaxed, and then the screaming comes in. Yeah, it's just one of those songs that is just absolutely just a fucking killer track. I can admire albums based on a variety of different themes, whether it be clever musicianship, production, or the story that's presented. But there are so few artists that are able to hit an emotional chord with their audience, and especially within their lyrics. Listening to this album, it caught me at a time where I wasn't in the best of headspaces, and after listening to this record, I just felt a bit better. I think that's one of the reasons why Devin's music really stands out, because you can not only admire the technical level that he puts into each record, but you can really relate to the lyrics and compare them to your own experiences. And that can leave a more lasting impact than like crazy paradiddles or like quintuplets or any sort of musician wankery that you can think of. 22 albums in and he hasn't lost a step. Well, okay, I mean, like, some people consider Z2 to be one record, but I still consider it two. That's why it's 22 albums, because I think that Dark Matters and Sky Blue are totally... But anyways, that's a whole other tangent for another day. Devin Townsend is just one of those rare musicians that continues to just hit it out of the park each time. His work ethic is unrivaled in this genre, and I think this guy deserves an extended break. Though as a listener, I'm glad that he won't take one. But that's just me being very, very selfish. And I know that Devin Townsend fans like myself have been constantly spoiled with the amount of music that this guy puts out. So, Devin, please take a break, man, because you've definitely earned it. And yeah, again, you knock it out of the park each time. This is without a doubt a 4.5 out of 5 skulls. All right, time for some shoutouts. Now, here's some albums that came out today that you should definitely check out. First up, I would recommend Joe Lynn Turner with his new album, Belly of the Beast. It's kind of like, straightforward heavy metal, Very, very solid. So if you're into the old school stuff, definitely check him out. Next up, I would recommend Royal Hunt, Dystopia Part 2, which comes out on North Point Records. And finally, I would recommend Ryer with their new album, Transient, which comes out through Golden Antenna Records. Very cool post-metal band. So if you're a fan of groups like Pelican and Red Sparrows, definitely check these guys out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Check out our Patreon campaign. And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on Lightwork next week when it comes out. So when you hear it, please leave a comment on this video below. See you next time.